Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India NewsHour, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in the next hour. On day 10, Iran continues to strike Gulf and Israel. Mujtaba Khamenei is named Iranian's supreme leader. Putin backs Tehran. Israel targets Hezbollah firms. US pulls staff from Turkey. Oil price volatility rocks the world. Leaders race to contain crisis. G7 nations to hold emergency meeting to discuss joint release from petroleum reserves. PM Modi pushes inclusive growth in a post-budget webinar. Says India is becoming an innovation-driven economy. EAM Jaishankar tells Parliament India is monitoring West Asia crisis. 67,000 Indian nationals have returned safely. On the 10th day of the escalating conflict, Iran has intensified its attacks across Israel and the Gulf, just hours after naming Mujtaba Khamenei as its new supreme leader. Russia has pledged unwavering support to Tehran, while Iranian drones have struck oil facilities in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, forcing regional energy companies, in fact, to declare force majeure. Now, Israel has renewed strikes in Beirut, and Washington has ordered consular staff out of Turkey as the tensions have spread. With Europe blamed by Tehran and no ceasefire in sight, the crisis is widening across the region. Here's our top story.
As the conflict entered its 10th day on Monday, Iran launched fresh attacks on Israel and several Gulf states, hours after naming Mujtaba Khamenei as the country's new supreme leader. Russian President Vladimir Putin pledged unwavering support to Mujtaba Khamenei and added that Russia would continue to stand by Tehran and solidarity with the Iranian friends. Bahrain's sprawling Al Ma'amir oil facility was targeted by Iranian drone that ignited a fire and material damage. The country's state-owned energy company, PAPCO, joined its counterparts in Qatar and Kuwait in declaring force majeure, a warning that events beyond its control may lead it to miss export targets. Saudi Arabia also battled drones targeting its oil fields. The United Arab Emirates and Kuwait also reported new attacks on Monday. Israel also renewed its strikes on Beirut's southern suburbs, launching attacks on Hezbollah-linked financial firm that killed one person. Later in the day, it launched a number of attacks on several branches, a US-sanctioned financial firm in Beirut's south including. Meanwhile, Iran has blamed European countries, including France, for creating the conditions that led to the US and Israel attacking the Islamist Republic. Iran's foreign ministry also cast doubt on prospects of a ceasefire as long as US and Israel strikes continue, adding that Iran would continue to defend itself. As the situation remains tense, Washington has advised non-essential staff to leave its consulate near the southern Turkish city near a key NATO base. It also ordered US citizens to leave southeast Turkey in the latest pullout of US consular services of the war.
I think we are all seeing right now the threat that this clerical regime poses to the region and to the world. They are trying to hold the world hostage. They are attacking their neighbors. They are attacking neighboring countries, their energy infrastructure, their civilian population. They're attacking embassies. This is a terrorist government. This is a terroristic regime. And we are seeing them conduct terrorism using nation-state elements, using weapons like missiles and one-way attack drones.
Amid all this, Iranian authorities said it will confiscate the properties and impose penalties of members of the Iranian diaspora who cooperate with Israel and the United States. Bureau Report, DD India.
Meanwhile, the French President Emmanuel Macron arrived in Cyprus on Monday to discuss regional security as France has deployed warships to the Mediterranean. Macron, who landed in Paphos, met the Cypriot President Nikos Christodoulidis and also the Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis. They had talks, and during the meeting, Macron said that an attack on Cyprus will mean an attack on Europe, adding that France will send 2 frigates as part of the European Union's naval mission as this is in the Red Sea.
While the crisis situation in Iran, the state of war in Iran is affecting the entire region, coming here at your side with the Prime Minister of Greece is a way of telling you that when Cyprus is attacked, it is Europe that is attacked.
And global energy markets are entering one of their most volatile phases in recent years, with oil prices in fact climbing sharply and governments rushing to contain the fallout. From emergency summits among world leaders to sweeping domestic measures, the shock waves are reverberating across continents, reshaping economies, testing political leadership and pushing energy security to the very top of national priorities. Rahul Upadhyay has this report.
Tensions in West Asia are fueling a worsening energy crisis across global markets. Oil prices surged past $114 per barrel for the first time since 2022 on Monday, raising fears of higher costs at the pump and heavier bills at home.
Well, at this rate, we'll soon stop using the car. What can we do? We'll walk, it will build up the muscles in our calves, won't it? And it will be environmentally friendly as well.
International benchmark Brent and the main US oil contract WTI both rose close to 15% by midday in Europe after spiking nearly 30% earlier.
I think it's going to hit broadly. Both households, industries and airlines. Basically because even though most of the crude and oil products are exported or sold to China from the Middle East or to Asia, we will see a more general impact on the prices internationally.
Amid the turmoil, G7 nations will hold an emergency meeting to discuss surging oil prices as crude jumped above $100 a barrel and stock markets slumped. Leaders are expected to consider a joint release of petroleum reserves coordinated by the International Energy Agency. In Seoul, South Korean President Lee Jae-myung announced authorities would cap domestic fuel prices for the first time in nearly 3 decades, aiming to contain the sharp spike in costs.
Regarding the recent excessive increases in petroleum product prices, we should swiftly introduce and boldly implement a maximum price system.
In India, officials say the country is moving swiftly to safeguard energy security. Refineries have been ordered to maximize LPG production, with households given priority. Petrol, diesel and aviation fuel supplies remain stable, ensuring no immediate disruption for consumers. In Bangladesh, authorities have ordered all universities to close from Monday, bringing forward the Eid al-Fitr holidays as part of emergency measures to conserve electricity and fuel amid a worsening energy crisis. Rationing of fuel at petrol pumps has also been introduced. Pakistan has increased fuel prices in its country by 20%. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump said the price surge was a small price to pay to eliminate Iran's nuclear threat, as the conflict showed no signs of easing up. The crisis underscores how deeply interconnected and vulnerable global markets remain in the face of international conflicts. Rahul Upadhyay's report, DD India.
And Prasar Bharati correspondent Vinod Kumar joins us now from Dubai with more. Vinod, with oil prices still volatile and over $110 a barrel, what signals are you picking up about India's ability to secure stable crude supplies in the weeks ahead?
Well, Mark, with oil prices surging this $110 mark due to the escalating conflict in West Asia, disruptions and the disruption of the Strait of Hormuz, India is deploying, I would say, a shield and diversify strategy. The government primary goal is to prevent a massive inflationary spike before it hits the average consumer. India can manage in multiple ways. One is absorbing the shock. Over the past couple of years, when the oil prices were really subdued, we had collected so much of profits, and these profits can be used as a shield and a buffer so that the inflationary spikes will not be passed to the customer. And while this protects the customer, it is a massive financial burden, I must say. Every $10 increases in oil prices is estimated to add around $14 to $16 billion to India's annual import bill. We also have a really good strategic reserves and inventory, around 250 million barrels of crude oil and other finished crude oil products are stored in India's in various places like Visakhapatnam, Mangalore, Padur, and we also have stock in commercial tanks and other reserves. And these emergency reserves and stocks allow the government to wait out the short-term volatility without having to scramble for expensive spot market oil during the peak of the crisis. And this war and the closure of Strait of Hormuz, we have been preparing for quite some time. This is not an unanticipated event. Our preparations lasted decades. That's why we have diversified our sourcing of oil from various parts of the world. Now only 30% of India's oil comes from the Strait of Hormuz, and 70% of India's crude oil now arrives through routes unaffected by the current naval blockades. And we have sources in United States, West Africa, Central Asia, and many other places. And the most important thing is the Russian factor. Russia still remains India's largest supplier. Despite the sanctions, India secured a 30-day waiver from the United States to importing Russian crude. And this will definitely bolster up India's reserves as well as India's sourcing ability. Despite these protections, a $10 110 price tag will put a heavy pressure on Indian economy, and in India have a very long diplomatic arm. Hopefully in the short term this volatility will ease and the oil prices will come back to the normal levels.
Indeed, hopefully it's just a short-term crisis. But how is the Gulf assessing the immediate impact of volatility in its markets?
Oh, the Gulf has a completely different game here. And the reaction to the current oil price suggests a complex mix of operational alarm and tactical redirection. Usually when the prices go high, that should bolster their regional treasuries. But here the issue is different. Here the issue is of accessibility. The supply side paralysis means producers cannot fully capitalize the rising rally because 200 odd ships are now closed at Hormuz Strait, and major exporters like Saudi Arabia, UAE are facing storage crisis. Iraq, Kuwait and UAE already began cutting production, and earlier today Qatar LNG and Bahrain, BAPCO, have institutionalized force majeure clause in their legal paradigm. That means they are not able to deliver already paid for oil and crude oil to the world. And domestically, governments are also moving to shield their own economies from the volatility. Dubai, for example, has maintained pre-conflict fuel prices cap for March to prevent local inflationary spikes. And Gulf at this moment is shifting from a wait-and-see approach to active crisis management. And their focus is on liquidity, where to prevent panic selling in their stock exchanges. Dubai has made unprecedented interventions, like trading has been halted, dividends distribution has been stopped, and cash reserves is being bolstered. And this impact is definitely hitting different sectors in the Gulf, especially Dubai, which is the major hub for tourism and aviation. So yes, at this current moment, this is unprecedented, and the situation is being handled tactically.
Thank you very much, D.V. Vinod Kumar, for giving us a status check of the situation from the Gulf. Now, moving on to our next story. Amid the oil price crisis, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban urged the European Union to suspend sanctions on Russian oil and gas to counter rising prices. Orban, the Kremlin's closest ally in the EU, has repeatedly criticized sanctions against Russia, leveraging his veto power to get Hungary exempt from them and to reduce European help for Ukraine. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar held a telephonic conversation with the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of the Italian Republic, Antonio Tajani. And in a tweet, Dr. Jaishankar said, and I quote, "Appreciate the phone conversation with DPM and FM. Antonio Tajani of Italy discussed the situation in West Asia," unquote. Still to come here on DD India NewsHour. The RSP consolidates its two-third majority lead in Nepal polls. India sends 1,000 tons of rice to Malawi amid drought crisis. Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Mark Lynn. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday held a telephonic conversation with the leaders of Nepal, Rabi Lamichhane, the chairman of the Rashtriya Swatantrata Party, and Balendra Shah, and congratulated them on their election victories. In a post on X, the Prime Minister said, and I quote, had warm telephonic conversations with Mr. Rabi Lamichhane, chairman of the Rashtriya Swatantrata Party, RSP, and Mr. Balendra Shah, senior leader of the RSP, congratulated both leaders on their electoral victories and RSP's resounding success in the Nepal elections, conveyed my best wishes for their forthcoming new government and India's commitment to work with them for mutual prosperity, progress and well-being of our two countries. I am confident that with our joint endeavors, India and Nepal relations will scale new heights in the years ahead. And in the latest updates from Nepal, well, counting continues for two constituencies under the first past the post system, and the final results have been declared for 163 constituencies. The Rashtriya Swatantrata Party has won 124 constituencies and is leading in one more constituency. The Nepali Congress has won 17 seats and is leading in one. The UML has 8 seats, is leading in one, and the NCP has won 7 seats only. So the RPP has also won 1 seat. The Shram Sanskriti Party has won 3. An independent candidate has won 1 seat from Mayagadi. And also, this is now, let's go to the 110 seats which are under the proportional representation system, which counting has only completed for 68 of these seats. In 9 constituencies, counting for the proportional representation has not yet started. This was as of noon today. The rest of the 33 seats, counting is underway. And Prasar Bharati correspondent Cheetah Singh now joins us from Kathmandu. Cheetah, you know, when will all the results be declared? Are there also any surprises in the proportional representation results?
Mark, actually, you see, it's 163 seats results are already out, and 125 seats have been won by RSP, and it's leading in one. So 126 in total. So it's any case more than 70%. They are the majority. They only need hardly 13 more seats from proportional representation to have that magic number of 138. 138 is minimum seat required to make a government, and 126 will be from first past the post system, and 110 seats, definitely they are going to have two-third majority over there also. The way trend is ongoing, and but until unless in proportional representation, all the seats number is not declared, you cannot calculate exact number of seats for the winning party, because in the second ballot for proportional representation, it's voters choosing the party they want at the center. So until unless there is an accumulated result from all the constituency, it cannot be declared that how many seats will go to RSP or how many seats will go to UML. But definitely, as the trend for FPTP is clear, they are going to have two-third majority in House of Representatives. And you see, this is a massive majority, yes.
Yes, Shweta, but so we all wait for the results to come out. But then what happens next? What's the process of government formation?
As immediately the results will be out, interim government will, with election commission will first of all take all the report to interim government. Interim government and EC will approach the president, and president will then decide for a particular date when they will request the winning party to come and form the government. And then we expect this week, this thing can happen, government formation can happen this week. So RSP will be approached for forming the government. They will put their claim in front of president, and then they will take oath in the president house, Sheetal Niwas.
Right.
I hope so. This is going to happen this week. Yes.
And the RSP Prime Minister has spoken, Prime Minister of India has spoken to the RSP leaders. So how has this been received, and what are what is their idea in terms of relationship with India?
Mark, you see, Nepal and India have very close relation, and we being very closest neighbor with longest open border, we respond to Nepal in time of crisis or in time of happiness. We are the first one to respond. So when our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji extended his wishes to winning party, it is a clear indication that India and Nepal, like always, we have been together.
Thanks very much. Yeah, thank you very much, Shweta, for joining us with those updates. We leave it there. Quite warm here in the studio because the air conditioner seems to be off. Now let's move on to our next story. The Investigation Commission has, in fact, handed over a comprehensive 1,000-page report to Prime Minister Sushila Karki regarding the incidents during last year's Gen Z protests. Led by former Justice Gauri Bahadur Karki, the Commission had interrogated approximately 200 individuals. Prime Minister Sushila Karki has affirmed that the report received from the September 8 and 9 incidents investigation commission will be studied by the Home Ministry and Council of Ministers and then be put to implementation. The report included suggestions so that such incidents do not happen in the future. This report has not been made public yet. More news from the neighborhood. Bangladesh has introduced fuel rationing as the West Asia conflict worsens and the energy crunch in the import-dependent nation continues. Well, the Bangladesh Petroleum Corporation has limited fuel sales for most vehicles after attacks on Iran by the US and Israel, and Tehran's retaliatory strikes across the Gulf raised fears of supply disruptions. Bangladesh imports nearly 95% of its oil and gas needs, and authorities have also capped fuel purchases for several vehicles after panic buying and hoarding led to long queues at fuel stations across the country. Well, Bangladesh has ordered all public and private universities to close from Monday, bringing forward the Eid al-Fitr holidays as part of emergency measures to conserve electricity and fuel amid this worsening energy crisis. Officials said that the closure is intended to reduce electricity consumption on campuses and ease traffic congestion, helping lower fuel use. The move comes as Bangladesh faces growing uncertainty over fuel and gas supplies following disruptions in global energy markets caused by the ongoing conflict in West Asia. Authorities have also imposed daily limits on fuel sales and ordered foreign curriculum schools and also private coaching centers to suspend operations temporarily to further reduce electricity consumption. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed a post-budget webinar underscoring the government's vision of inclusive growth under the theme Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, fulfilling aspirations of the people. The Prime Minister highlighted key initiatives in education, skill, healthcare, Ayush, tourism, and he called for collaboration between government and industry and academia as well. This is to ensure that budgetary provisions translate into real opportunities for citizens. Let's listen. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed a post-budget webinar emphasizing the government's commitment to inclusive growth under the theme Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, fulfilling aspirations of people. Speaking via video conference, the Prime Minister highlighted key initiatives in education, skills, health, Ayush and tourism, all aimed at turning budget announcements into action on the ground. He pointed to new opportunities in creative industries such as animation, gaming and digital learning, while also stressing the importance of healthcare accessibility and the expansion of Ayush institutions.
देश में एजुकेशन को एम्प्लॉयमेंट और एंटरप्राइज से जोड़ने की दिशा में लगातार काम हो रहा है। यूनिवर्सिटी टाउनशिप जैसे नए मॉडल्स में हमारी इसी अप्रोच का प्रतिबिंब है। आज भारत एवीजीसी सेक्टर यानी एनिमेशन, विजुअल इफेक्ट्स, गेमिंग और कॉमिक्स को बढ़ावा दे रहा है। भारत इनोवेशन ड्रिवन इकोनॉमी की ओर बढ़ रहा है।
Tourism and hospitality were also in focus, with plans to develop regional hubs that can boost local economies and create jobs. The webinar brought together stakeholders from across sectors, including educators, professionals, startups, and students who participated in breakout sessions to refine strategies for implementation.
टूरिज्म और कल्चर रोजगार के नए अवसर बढ़ाने में बड़ी भूमिका निभाते हैं। जब किसी स्थान पर टूरिज्म बढ़ता है तो उस स्थान या उस शहर की ब्रांडिंग भी बढ़ जाती है। इससे उस शहर का ओवरऑल डेवलपमेंट भी बहुत तेज हो जाता है। भारत में ऐसे ऐतिहासिक स्थलों की कोई कमी नहीं है, लेकिन लंबे समय तक टूरिज्म कुछ चुनिंदा स्थानों तक ही सीमित रह गया। अब हमें देश के कोने-कोने में टूरिस्ट डेस्टिनेशन को नए सिरे से डेवलप करने पर फोकस कर रहे हैं।
Prime Minister Modi called for stronger collaboration between government, industry and academia to ensure that India's youth are equipped with the skills needed for the future. Prime Minister Modi reinforced the message that the Union Budget 2026-27 is not just a financial document, but a roadmap to empower citizens and strengthen India's growth story. Bureau Report, DD India. Well, India has sent a humanitarian consignment of 1,000 metric tons of rice to Malawi to support food security and drought. This is after the drought caused by the El Nino effect there. And the consignment, in fact, was dispatched by Nhava Sheva port as part of India's humanitarian assistance to the African nation facing food shortages. This initiative reflects India's continued commitment to supporting partners in the Global South and strengthening South-South cooperation. Let's take a look at other stories making news from around the world. Croatia is set to resume mandatory military service for the first time in 17 years as part of the European Union members' broader strategy to address security concerns in Europe and the Western Balkans. On Monday, 800 recruits will start 2-month basic training in military compounds across the country. To the soft sound of a piano, hundreds of Odessa residents gathered by the Black Sea to welcome the sunrise as the city's Sunrise Piano Concert season reopened. Ukrainian pianist and composer Igor Yanchuk resumed the weekly dawn performances after a 4-month winter break. The setting, in fact, created a unique harmony between nature and music. Spectators also said that the concert offered a rare moment of calm. Governments worldwide are ramping up efforts to keep minors off social networks. Persona, which is a San Francisco identity verification company that helps businesses confirm who the users are. They have ID checks, biometric verification, and also fraud prevention tools. They have improved age assurance technology also, and they've strengthened confidence that such systems can work. Disney Cruise Line's largest vessel, the Disney Adventure, is set to embark on its maiden voyage from Singapore, and this is on Tuesday, as the company pushes further into Asia with sprawling themed zones and also Marvel-inspired attractions. Still to come here on DD India NewsHour. We'll get you an analysis of EAM Jaishankar's address to both houses of parliament on the West Asia conflict.
Less than 100.
You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Mark Lynn. And here's a recap of our main news. On day 10, Iran continues to strike Gulf and Israel. Mujtaba Khamenei is named Iran's supreme leader. Putin backs Tehran. Israel targets Hezbollah firms. US pulled staff from Turkey. Oil price volatility rocks the world. Leaders race to contain crisis. G7 nations to hold emergency meeting to discuss joint release from petroleum reserves. Prime Minister Modi pushes inclusive growth in a post-budget webinar. He says that India is becoming an innovation-driven economy. EAM Jaishankar tells Parliament that India is monitoring the West Asia crisis. 67,000 Indian nationals have returned safely. India's External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, made a suo motu statement on the Iran crisis in both houses of India's parliament on Monday. And he said that the developments in West Asia are a deep cause of concern for all. The minister said that India remains in favor of peace, the return to dialogue and diplomacy, and he reiterated that India advocates de-escalation, restraint, and ensuring safety of civilians. Here's the report.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has given reassurances that the government was monitoring the situation in West Asia and that the safety of Indian nationals is the central government's priority. He was briefing the upper house on the rapidly intensifying conflict in West Asia, which have triggered broader regional tensions. The minister said that almost 67,000 Indian nationals have crossed international borders to return, and every effort is being made to bring back citizens from West Asia.
Today I was informed of a handout information put out by the Ministry of Civil Aviation, and this tells us of the efforts government is making. Yesterday there were 15 inbound flights operated by Indian carriers which arrived in India. On the 7th. On the 8th there were 49 flights and on the 9th there are 50 flights. So I want to assure the House that every effort is being made that those who are stuck in the region, those who are transit passengers who are there, those who need to come back urgently from this region, we are making every effort for them to do so.
Addressing concerns over India's energy security, Minister Jaishankar said the government is closely tracking developments in global energy markets, especially in light of disruptions to key trade routes such as the Strait of Hormuz.
In view of the implications of this conflict for our energy security, I also seek to address that particular concern. Government remains committed to ensuring that fully taking into account availability, costs, and risks of the energy markets. For us, the interests of the Indian consumer has and will always be the overriding priority.
The minister reiterated that India believes diplomacy remains the most viable path to reduce tensions. He highlighted that India is in favor of peace. Dr. S. Shankar also said that the national interest, including energy security and trade flows, will always be paramount. Speaking of the Iranian vessel that is currently docked in Kochi, the minister said that the Iranian side requested permission on 28 February for 3 ships in the region to dock at India's ports. IRIS Lavan actually docked on 4th March in Kochi. Minister Jaishankar concluded with 3 pillars: prioritizing peace through diplomacy and civilian safety, securing the Indian diaspora via regional partnerships, and safeguarding national interest like energy and trade. He expressed confidence in the House's backing for this balanced approach amid ongoing monitoring. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar assured Parliament that the government is closely monitoring the escalating crisis in West Asia to safeguard Indian interests. And to unpack the significance of his response, we're joined now by Ambassador Sushil Kumar Singhal, a former senior diplomat. Ambassador Singhal, thank you for being with us. Now, how does India's proactive monitoring of West Asia reflect also our growing role, as a responsible regional power?
India has always been a responsible, regional responsible power, and what the minister, External Affairs Minister, has mentioned in both houses of the Parliament is the roadmap which India is following in order to safeguard primarily, of course, our national interests. Our national interests, as he defined, are number one is the safety and security of 10 million Indians diaspora, which is based in Gulf, and he also outlined what efforts are being made by the government and the mission, what kind of the facilities they are trying to provide. And he mentioned almost 50 flights a day are being arranged despite the problems. Then other point for us is the energy security, because we also depend on Strait of Hormuz not only for energy but also trade. We have about $200 billion worth of trade with the Gulf countries, which is also getting disturbed because of these disruption which is being caused. So we are, and of course the energy is also paramount, because we are a net importer, and India imports not only for itself but also refines the product and supply to other countries, because there are varieties of oil which many countries cannot process except India. So India is able to do that and bring stability in the global energy market. Absolutely. So that role also India is playing, and which he highlighted. And other is what he mentioned is that the India is in favor of diplomacy, because as the Prime Minister has repeatedly mentioned, that this is not an era of war. This is an era of talk and peace, and that can be achieved only by talk. When the diplomacy.
Yeah, let's break down a little bit of what you're saying, Ambassador Singhal. What does, let's say, the coordinated response across several ministries also say about India's capacity, to handle complex external problems and crises? Because, it's a whole of government sort of approach.
Oh yes, because this ultimately the various ministries have to come together, and the way we are handling, and earlier also many crises were handled by the coordinated approach, and this leadership of the Prime Minister Modi has been instrumental in bringing all the ministries together, and they work as a machine, as a single machine. They are single machine, but various ministries work together. They all know their responsibilities, and of course External Affairs Ministry is the main instrument when it comes to this kind of crisis, because they have the people on the ground. But the manner in which it is being handled, be it the energy issue, be it the civil aviation issue, because the flights have to be very much coordinated. The space is available very limited time,
Yes.
and many times space is closed. So that coordination is required, which I think is being done being done very well, and that is why almost 50
True.
flights a day are taking place.
Now, you did mention about the priorities that the External Affairs Minister mentioned, and the evacuation of 67,000 nationals so far. What does this demonstrate about India's commitment to citizen safety abroad? I mean, there's such a large diaspora of our country in the Gulf.
Yeah, see, I completely. The point is that the government of India is very much committed to the safety of Indians wherever they are, and always been proactive. Be it here, be it in Ukraine, be it in Yemen. The Yemen was one of the very difficult evacuation, which was achieved. And similarly, here in the Gulf, when the Prime Minister or the Foreign Minister, External Affairs Minister talk to their counterpart, the first request is that we need your assurance that the Indians in your countries are provided all assistance possible, and they are provided security, ensuring that they don't come to the harm's way. So that is the safety and security of Indians abroad is first and foremost in the mind of the government, and that's why when the leadership talks to their counterpart, they always emphasize on this fact, and that is why when they are able to bring this 67,000 people in just 2-3 days. Just imagine that the kind of effort which is being made to bring them, whosoever wanted to come, they're trying to bring them back to India.
Ambassador Singhal, also you did mention about the other priorities and diplomacy and dialogue. India has urged restraint. How does this strengthen India's diplomatic credibility? You did mention also Prime Minister saying that this is not the era of war. So clearly, I mean, this is the message that India carries, especially when there's so many conflicts around the world.
India has such a credibility, I would say, with among all the global capitals, that India is among the very few countries who can talk to all the parties and emphasize that on the need of restraint, one, and to talk and give a chance to peace. Like foreign minister is speaking to not only his counterpart in Gulf countries, in US, but also to the Iranians and Israelis. Similarly, Prime Minister has spoken to not only to Israel, but also to the Gulf countries. So, and again, the message which is being conveyed and being appreciated by all around is that this peace need to come to this region, and not only in this region but also in other areas.
Right.
But particularly at this moment, we are talking about this Middle East. So a message always is from Indian side that please, there is a need to peace and dialogue, and
Indeed.
people do listen to that.
A final question, Ambassador Singhal. The crisis, how does it highlight India's evolving foreign policy also? Because we seem to combine humanitarian responsibilities also with strategic foresight.
Well, India has always been votary of course, when we talk about the foreign policy, always the national interest comes first, because that is the whole idea of the foreign policy, that we carry forward and protect our national interest. But having said that, India has always been in the forefront of humanitarian side. Be it like he mentioned about the Iranian Navy ship, which we allowed to dock because of the technical problems, and it has been appreciated by everybody. And India, when it comes to any calamity, India is the first responder. Similarly, when this Iranian ship was torpedoed,
Right, yes.
Indian Navy also reached out. But by then, of course, the Sri Lankan was closer,
Yes,
because it was
right.
there. But we always come out and we are the first responder in the region, and
Okay.
which is everybody appreciates about that,
We'd have to
and
leave it.
rely on us.
We'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much, Ambassador Singhal. Thank you for putting all that into perspective for us. Now, moving on to our next story. In fact, still to come here on DD India NewsHour. India's first AI-based data center park is being developed in Nava Raipur. The cheetah population in India rises to 53 with the birth of the latest litter of 5 cubs at the Kuno National Park. And the Indian women face a must-win clash against Chinese Taipei in Sydney in football. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Mark Lynn. The National Stock Exchange of India celebrated the 30th anniversary of the Nifty 50 Index in Mumbai. And the event was held at the NSE headquarters in Mumbai. It brought together regulators, market experts and representatives of leading companies. The celebration marked 3 decades of the Nifty 50 Index, which has in fact become one of the most widely tracked benchmarks of the Indian stock market. And during the event, the NSE released a special white paper on the Nifty 50 Index. The exchange also launched a book titled Nifty Panorama, which highlights the journey and impact of the index over the years. The celebration concluded with the ringing of the NSE bell by the dignitaries, symbolizing the growth of India's equity markets and the success of the Nifty 50 Index. Chhattisgarh is set to take a major step into the world of digital technology and artificial intelligence. India's first AI-based data center park is being developed in Nava Raipur, which in fact will give the state a new identity on the technological map. And let's look at this report by Somesh Patel.
The park coming up in Nava Raipur across nearly 13.5 acres will feature state-of-the-art GPU computing infrastructure, high-speed data processing and advanced analytics facilities. The project is being launched with an initial investment of around 1,000 crore rupees, being developed through a public-private partnership. The data center park will serve as a major platform for AI research, startups and technology companies. A few days ago at the AI Impact Summit in Bharat Mandapam, Chhattisgarh also showcased its stall. The project is expected to create more than 2,000 direct and indirect employment opportunities in the state. Young professionals will find new opportunities in fields such as IT, data science, cybersecurity, and cloud computing. Chhattisgarh Chief Minister Vishnu Dev Sai said that this is not just a technology project but the foundation of the state's future.
AI डाटा सेंटर पार्क का जो कि शायद ये देश का पहला पार्क होगा, ये छत्तीसगढ़ के लिए बहुत ही सौभाग्य का विषय है और कोई उद्योग धंधा लगने से और भी बहुत लोगों को उससे लाभ होता है। स्किलिंग भी यहाँ पर कराएंगे तो और बहुत सारे हमारे छत्तीसगढ़ के बेटा बेटियों को इसका लाभ होगा।
This data center will not only accelerate technological development, but will also help position Chhattisgarh as a new hub for AI and digital technology.
We are building across country the AI infrastructure for global companies, global cloud companies and neo cloud companies. We have chosen in build a more sustainable location in like Raipur. We are building country's first AI SEZ, and the first phase is getting completed now. This will eventually benefit for entire state and the country, that bringing that backward integration system into the state, like mechanical, electrical and plumbing kind of opportunity, job opportunity in the system. And the forward, the chip manufacturer and others can also attract toward our investment in the state.
The AI Data Center Park in Nawa Raipur will not only boost technological growth but will also open new opportunities for the youth of the state. In this new era of digital India, this initiative could further strengthen Chhattisgarh's identity in the years ahead.
Chhattisgarh is now set to take a major step into the world of digital technology and artificial intelligence. The country's first AI-based data center park is winning development in Naya Raipur, which will give the state a new identity on the technology map. Somesh Patel, DD India, Chhattisgarh.
Well, on March 9th, 2026, a 7-day program titled the EdTech Connect, Empowering the Global South. It was inaugurated at the Inter-University Center for Teacher Education, Varanasi campus. And this international training program is being organized under the Indian Technical and Economic Cooperation Program of the Global South, South-South Cooperation Initiative of the External Affairs Ministry of India.
Teachers from 10 countries, Sri Lanka, Cambodia, Ghana, Kyrgyzstan, Mauritius, Thailand, Uganda, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan and Ethiopia are participating in the program with a total of 22 teacher participants. In a special conversation with DD News, the director of IUCTE, Professor P.N. Singh, said that at a time when the world is facing conflicts and warlike situations, these teachers have come to India because of their trust in India's security and reliability.
पूरा मिडिल ईस्ट जब युद्ध की आग में चल रहा है, तमाम गल्फ कंट्री में भी लड़ाई चल रही है। इसके अलावा इस माहौल में भी कंबोडिया, इथियोपिया, घाना, किर्गिस्तान, मॉरिशस, उज्बेकिस्तान जैसे देशों से कुल 22 प्रतिभागी आए हैं। मैं ये इनका इस परिस्थिति में यहाँ आना भारत सरकार की उस छवि को और उस प्रतिबद्धता के प्रति विश्वास दर्शाता है कि हम इस परिस्थिति में भी वहां जाएंगे तो सुरक्षित हैं।
Teacher participants from several countries also shared their views.
This lecture was the best lecture in my life, which I have been ever. Yeah. So, for example, today I learned about student soul, yeah, about humanity. Teaching is not just share the information; it is to learn students' soul, what they want to learn.
I chose this course because provides an excellent opportunity to enhance my knowledge and skills in IT technology while gaining international experience.
The main reason I'm here is India, as far as I'm concerned, it's more technologically advanced, and so what I'm looking for is not high-end technology. So we are developing countries. So I want to know how to manage with the kind of with the technology, the resources, the infrastructure that we already have.
Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, it's a proud moment for Project Cheetah as Jwala, a Namibian cheetah and the successful 3-time mother, she gave birth to 5 more cubs on Monday at the Kuno National Park. And with this birth, the number of Indian-born thriving cubs has risen to 33, marking the 10th successful cheetah litter on Indian soil, another important milestone in India's cheetah conservation journey. This milestone reflects the tireless efforts of veterinarians, field staff as well, and everyone involved. And with these cubs, India's cheetah population has risen to 53, which is a historic moment for wildlife conservation. Well, let's get you the sports news. And Indian women's football team, they are going to face a must-win clash as they take on Chinese Taipei in their last Group C match of the AFC Women's Asian Cup. This is in Sydney on Tuesday. The women in blue, they still have a chance to make it to the quarterfinals should they defeat the Chinese Taipei team by a margin of 2 goals or more. And if Japan defeats Vietnam on Tuesday in the simultaneous kickoff. Now, India are currently bottom of the group at 4th place with 0 points from 2 matches after having lost against Vietnam and Japan. Chinese Taipei, on the other hand, have a much easier task. A draw will be enough for them to seal their progression to the knockout stage. India's top doubles player Yuki Bhamri and his Swedish partner Andre Goransson. They had an easy day, winning in straight sets against David Pell and Fabrice Martin at the Indian Wells Masters. The unseeded Indo-Swedish pair won 6-3, 6-1 as they broke the French-Dutch combo 5 times in the opening round. Bhamri and Goransson served 5 aces to 3 for their opponents. Pell and Martin served 6 double faults in the 66-minute contest. They will next face the giant-killing team of Sander Arens and Jiri Leheka, who knocked out the second-seed British pair of Julian Cash and Lloyd Glasspool. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India NewsHour. Let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, get the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code and download it now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Mark Lynn. From all of us here in Delhi, thank you very much for watching DD India NewsHour. Namaskar.